Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. I'm Maria Casillas, joined here by my incredible co-host, Cody Sizemore. And hi, Cody. We would love to talk about some things that are going on in our lives right now. And I have a feeling they might be going on in yours as well, because just given where we are in the calendar year. But first, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you who joins us this week, last week, all the weeks before that, and who are excited to join us next week as well. We love you, we appreciate you, and we are grateful, especially in this time of gratitude and joyfulness. We are grateful for you and all that you do to have us come back every single week to be here for you. Cody.
Yes.
This is holiday season, and we're recording this like in the thick of things. It will be released in the thick of things. And so with your permission, I would just like to have a little bit of a vulnerable conversation, because I think that at least for us, and I'm guessing for our listeners, things can get kind of busy just naturally around this time. Even just the other day, like my husband texted me, and he has a corporate job. And he has a certain amount of time off that he can carry over each year, but there's a certain amount that if he doesn't use it, he loses it. And so he was just texting me and saying, hey, I've got this day off naturally, and then I'm taking this day off, but I have one more that if I don't use it, I'll lose it. When do you think I should take it off? And we had to kind of look at the calendar and go, okay, when is that going to be good for our family? But he had to also look at his own workload and go, when I take a day off, how is it going to affect the pileup of work that will also come following that? And so I know that this is something that happens in his world. And I'm guessing, because we're both business owners, that it also happens in our world. So did you take any time off for the most recent holiday? And if so, how has it affected your life?
I did. I
Mm.
did. I didn't get paid for it like your husband did, though. So,
Yeah. Sorry.
but
You get
I
paid
did
better
take
than my
the day
husband
off.
does, though, just so you know.
What's that?
I said you get paid better than my husband does.
Oh,
Just so
okay.
you know.
Well,
If that makes you feel any
you
better.
give and you take, I guess, right?
And he has to drive an hour to work one way. You get to do this from home.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway.
But yes, I did take some time off for the holidays. Sorry, I'm just kind of like getting myself situated here. I did take some time off, and because of that, the days around it, like the days leading up to the time that I took off and the days that were after the days I took off, were just so slammed, just so slammed. So like, for example, this past weekend was the holiday, and, met with some people. And just so you guys know, Thanksgiving was this past weekend, right?
Yes,
No.
sir. Yes.
Right? Okay, see, I'm in a blur, right? So Thanksgiving this past weekend, and took a day off for that. And then today's Wednesday, it's a recording day. And Monday and Tuesday, as well as Friday of last week as well, each one of those days, I was in my office doing like office work or post-meeting work for these clients starting at 6:30 or 7 in the morning. And then I would go throughout the entire day, meet with clients, have consultations, back to back to back to back to back, basically only having 15 to 30 minute breaks if I was lucky, if we ended those meetings on time, kind of thing, right? Sometimes they went over a little bit and I only had a 5-minute break to just go to the bathroom, get a cup of coffee, and then I'm back in, kind of thing. And that was the case all the way up until about 7 or 8 o'clock p.m. So you do the
Yeah.
math, it's like a 13, maybe, 12 to 14-hour day,
Mm-hmm.
on Friday, on Monday, and on Tuesday. Um, and I have to tell you, your boy is tired. Your boy is tired. And that's just from taking one day off.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about Christmas, which by the time that this episode comes out, it's already passed, right? Um, so you might be listening to this episode, and I might be in a very similar place.
Well,
Because I'm
even
taking
more
multiple
importantly,
days off for Christmas, not just one.
yeah, even more importantly, they may be in a very similar place
Yeah.
because they have just taken some time off of working their business as well, in order to celebrate these holidays. So,
Yeah.
but let's get back to you, Cody, because it really is all about us.
No, but I mean, that's basically it, and I think that so the topic that, we kind of wanted to talk about today is just self-care around, business owners, self-care around building this business. And especially if you're someone who is doing this, full time, or maybe if you're someone who works full time, that's building this on the side as like a
Yeah.
second thing that you're trying to make it a full-time thing. Cause if you're in that boat, I was there too at one time. I know how
Mhm.
much you're working. I
Yep.
know how much time you're putting into this, between your actual job and your business. Like, I know, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So it's really important to take care of yourself so that these moments to where you're working those really long days with minimal breaks are very limited, for sure.
Yeah. So what does that look like? I mean, I want to make sure that we don't, do all of the just cheesy self-care stuff. What does it
Mhm,
truly look like to I hate the word balance, if I'm being fully honest.
mhm.
But what does it look like to truly put priority to the things that will keep us going, even when it seems like the busyness of business is taking priority for us.
So I'll say a few things. We talked about this a little bit with the previous guest. I think it was Zoe, if I'm not mistaken. When we talked about like listening to your body and listening to your soul about like what your limits are. Because I'll be honest with you, like my limits are high. I have a pretty high tolerance for busyness, for work, for whatever it might be.
Mhm.
So that might be different for someone else, kind of thing. So I think that's part of it. But I think that what's really important to get that quote unquote balance, maybe there's a better word, is setting firm boundaries for yourself and for others.
Mhm.
So that's for your clients, that's for your family, that's for your friends, that's for yourself. Is setting those boundaries and then sticking to them.
Mhm. Okay. I think there's also it is also important to have a recognition of things we can and cannot control.
Mhm.
So, for example, before we hit record today, we were just kind of talking a little bit about some of the things that derails us as individuals. And Cody, for all of you who don't know, is significantly younger than I am, and I have it's only important for this purpose. So I have a little bit more life under my belt than Cody does, and probably we've been doing this what 2 years now, 3 years, I don't know. We've known each other about 3 years, and there were so many times when he would tell me all of these things that he was doing, and I'm like, oh, I'm just tired from the kid being awake at night. Like, how does he even do all of this? And right before we hit record today, Cody was saying that one of the things that derailed him was when his new daughter was awake for a certain amount of time for a certain number of nights in a row. And I jokingly said to him, "Oh my God, you became me." And of course, I'm kidding, but it's just that recognition of there are things that we can control and things that we just can't. And sometimes a new child who just won't sleep is something that we can't control. And it will be something that affects us because it affects our ability to sleep. And even if you have a high tolerance, like Cody does, for busyness and things, your body has needs. Like it gets to the point where it's like, I am just exhausted. I can't continue to do this. And so of having those boundaries is super important, but there are also some times when it's not even about a boundary. It's just about recognition that, this is life and there are things that I'm part of, and I don't regret having been a part of that, but it is where we are. And so how do we work those things into our lives? And so one thing when we're talking about sleep is recognizing when you just need to rest. And if you are faced with, I have this follow up that I need to do. Ironically, we just talked about follow up last week. But if you're faced with, I have this follow up I need to do, and I also am exhausted and I need some sleep, it's okay to take the sleep this time. Like that's
Mhm.
okay. Put it on your list for tomorrow because chances are it's not going to be a great follow up anyway because you're not there mentally. And so it's just, I think, recognizing that. And maybe that is boundaries. Maybe that's boundaries with yourself and with your time, and recognizing that it's okay to take care of the bodily needs that you have in that moment. I mean, at least you peed for those, 5 minutes, like you had those breaks. And that's good that you took that break at least, because that
Yeah.
would be really hard too. So that's obviously just a jovial example of when we have to take care of ourselves. But I think that that's super important.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I think a lot of what you just said is kind of goes in congruence of what a lot of things that I said too. It's just like, hey, listen to
Hmm.
your body,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
listen to your
Yeah.
soul,
Hmm.
set those boundaries kind of thing. Like that's what's really important here. And I think that it's also important that, like, for example, last night, talking about follow up from our last episode, I was talking to someone last night, and I sent out messages to them earlier in the morning slash day, and they got back to me after they were done with work in
Hmm.
the evening, right?
Yep.
So I sent them. We were doing a little bit of back and forth communicating in the earlier part of the evening, and then when it got around like 7:30 or so, and I was done for the day as far as calls go. Like I just hopped off again, and I had like 7 meetings yesterday. So I was mentally fried, and I was like, all I want to do is just eat my dinner, watch this kids movie with my daughter, and go to bed. Like that's all I want to do, kind of thing. So I
Hmm.
texted this guy and I said, hey, you know, um, basically where the conversation was at was like, I was going to send him a resource and send him some questions about his numbers, and he gave me that permission. And instead of sitting there and saying, well, I have him on the hook right now, I can do that, I set that boundary with him. This is someone I've never talked to on the phone. This is someone that I just started texting that day. And I said,
Hmm.
hey, um, I am going to send you over that resource and those questions first thing in the morning tomorrow. But for the rest of the night, I'm just spending time with the family. Thanks.
Hmm.
And he responded and he said, good,
Hmm.
family first.
Hmm.
And I was like, see, and even that boundary with this new person, that tells him, okay, all right, this is like a real
Yep.
person with real values that you know, that are important to him, which
Yep.
is going to help in the long run
Yep.
with that whole relationship. So
Yeah.
again,
It also
the boundaries.
sets the expectation for him should he decide to work with you, which I hope that he does. But that he knows, like, this guy has certain hours and I'm not going to have to worry about him asking me to send him stuff over at 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
Like I can expect this certain um, schedule, if you will. And yeah, I think that's actually really, really solid.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Um, Going back to the whole daughter situation,
Yeah.
like new baby couldn't sleep kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I went through a challenging period this past year, which we've talked about already, so I'm not going to go into it. But basically, like, there was like that 2 or 3 month period where she wasn't really sleeping well. She still isn't sleeping well, to be honest with you. She's 9 months old. But, it's a little bit better kind of thing. Then, once it got a little bit better after that first 3 months, all of those things happened to me to where like everything was kind of like coming crashing down.
Hmm.
And then after that, as we kind of navigated through that, got a new rental property, and I've been spending the last 2 months basically like remodeling the place um, with any spare time that I had. And then those tenants moved in on Sunday, like this past Sunday, the weekend of Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
And then I get hit where I'm like, okay, that's finally done. That's off my plate. I can relax. Just kidding. Go into
Right.
Monday and Tuesday with like those big days, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So m- I bring all of that up because I just want to say, like, if you do it right and if you set those boundaries and, you really do take care of yourself, and you make that a priority, you're going to, be in that kind of space for the majority of the time. But there are certain seasons of life that happen to you, and maybe
Mhm.
they happen consecutively, like how it
Mhm.
has been for me in my life this past year, really these past 9 months. It's been a consecutive thing the last 9 months. I'm tired. I'm
Mhm.
tired. But I also understand that, like, for me and how my body works and how my mind works as well, is that there's two things that give me a lot of energy. One is rest, which I am taking, the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, to just literally do nothing. Just watch football and that's it, kind of thing. Um, so I'm taking that rest to recoup. But then another thing that really helps me with my energy is actually getting back to work, and
Mhm.
not just like work on the business,
Mhm.
but work on myself, you know?
Mhm.
So, getting back into the gym, which I've gotten away from,
Mm.
watching my eating habits, which admittedly I've gotten away from,
Mhm.
right? Drinking a little bit less, or maybe completely stopping,
Mhm.
which I've,
Alcohol, I presume.
yes, yeah,
Drink
alcohol.
drink your water, drink more
Yeah.
water.
Well, that's another thing, drinking more water, right? Like,
Mhm.
so all those types of things, like, while that might seem like work and just
Mhm.
another thing to do, for me, I know that my body responds, that when I'm in a flow state of taking care of myself, that
Yeah.
all the things come together, right?
Mhm.
So I know that about myself. So I'm taking this weekend, I'm
Mm.
turning everything off. And then, going into next week, I'm going right back into it, And I think that's
Mhm.
really going to help me, especially in this last month of the year, and then obviously turning into the new year as well.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
Actually,
one thing I
yeah.
do in the new year too. One
Yeah.
last thing, and then I'll say this:
On
uh,
your
to give myself some energy, and it's a really good way to start the year. Is for any of you who live above the, uh, in the Midwest or the Pacific Northwest or the Northeast or anything like that, the northern half of the United States, I would highly recommend doing a polar bear plunge on New Year's Day, hopping into a frozen river, a frozen lake, whatever it might be. Get some hypothermia in your system. It's
Okay.
really good for you. You know,
Mhm.
um, it gets
I
everything moving. So
I knew you were gonna say it, and I'm just praising the Lord right now that I don't live in the upper states, so I can say, "Oh, he wasn't talking to me." I actually am really glad that you brought all of those things up because uh, I was going to ask you what, if anything, is something that you have let go in this trying time that you think would help you to get back to yourself, and you mentioned all of those things, and so I didn't even have to ask the question. So clearly your mind is there and you're recognizing, like, hey, even though this might seem like one more thing that I needed to kind of track or do or be aware of, it is the thing that's going to give me more bang for my buck because of how my body responds to that.
I'm definitely in the stage of preparation.
Mm, look at you talking
Yeah,
stages.
I know. I know.
I love it. That's awesome. So
So,
you've been contemplating for a little while and now you're prepping,
yep.
and you said you're jumping into action this weekend, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Awesome.
And actually, it's actually funny because after we were about to wrap up this episode, I
Mhm.
actually was going to look at my calendar for this Saturday and just like block off the
Mhm.
the later afternoon. I had one call scheduled for Saturday morning, right? Um, a consultation. And funny enough, is in between our recording of this episode and our last one about follow up. Remember how I told you I was following up with that guy?
Yeah. He
Remember?
jumped in on a Saturday afternoon, didn't he?
Yeah. Like literally just now, he just booked a consultation for
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon. So
You
now
know?
I have to go on there and be like, all right, after this guy, I'm done. So
Uh-huh. Yep.
the two worlds collide from one week episode to the next week's
Yeah.
episode. So
Yeah, even you are susceptible to these life things happening. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate you talking about this. And this is something that is like equally important in my life. It looks a little bit different. But I will say that I have prioritized just feeling better over the last, 3-4 months. And it really has made a difference in terms of energy level and just being able to stay focused on certain things. And I think sometimes there's a guilt around that because it's like, oh, well, if I'm focusing on this, I am letting this other thing go. And I just have to be okay with that. Like I know that just like with our money and how we teach our clients with their money, that there have to be priorities. And sometimes you say no to something so that you can say yes to something else that is just more important in your life. And so if we know those things in our lives that are high importance to us, then it makes it a little bit easier to say, this thing over here, it might be okay, it might be important, but it's not as important as this one. And so if I only have this much time, this much energy, this much resource, that's what it's going to go towards.
yeah. 100% beautifully said. Couldn't have said it better than myself.
Thank you. It's the
So
focus that I have
it
right
is
now.
the focus. It is the focus.
I'm teasing. This has been fun. I really appreciate it. A little bit of a lighter episode for people who are just in the thick of the holidays right now and doing your thing. But we look forward to jumping back into this upcoming, not just next week, but the whole upcoming year with some more just solid stuff for you to be able to take notes on and really grow your business. And we appreciate each and every one of you for jumping in today. We look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of the Financial Coaches Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching.